Well, we begin in the Middle East. Hamas is reviewing what U.S. President Donald Trump labeled a final ceasefire offer for a 60-day truce. But as considerations are made, bloodshed persists on the ground. Gaza health officials say Israeli airstrikes and shootings killed almost 100 Palestinians overnight. Officials say around dozens of those killed were attempting to get much-needed humanitarian aid. 5 were killed outside sites associated with the U.S. Israeli-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. Reports by the Associated Press allege American contractors guarding aid distribution sites in Gaza are using live ammunition and stun grenades on crowds. Tom Perry is following the story from Jerusalem. So, Tom, what more do we know about those overnight strikes?
Well, we've seen a new round of strikes by the Israeli military in Gaza. As you mentioned, dozens of people killed in the past 24 hours. We've seen strikes in areas where people have been gathered, sheltering in tents. We saw a strike at a former school where people had been gathered, again seeking shelter. These are displaced people forced from their homes. They've been moving around Gaza for months. And we've seen as well, as you mentioned, people killed lining up for food, 5 of them at least, lining up for food being provided by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. Now, there's been a lot of controversy around that group. It's newly formed, it's backed by Israel, it's backed by the United States, and it's really supplanted the United Nations and other, more established humanitarian groups in providing aid to the people of Gaza. Now, we saw this week more than 170 humanitarian aid groups saying that Israel has to really stop working with this organization because hundreds of people have been killed by Israeli troops as they've lined up, and we've seen these chaotic scenes of people lining up for assistance at these distribution centers that the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation has set up in Gaza. Now, the foundation has shot back. It said that it welcomes, it wants to work with other groups, but of course those other groups say they're being sidelined by the Israelis. Now, the other element we're seeing these days, and certainly this week we saw an airstrike by the Israelis that killed Dr. Marwan al-Sultan. He is a prominent cardiologist, or he was a prominent cardiologist, and he and several members of his family were killed in an airstrike. He headed the Indonesian hospital in Gaza, one of the largest hospitals in Gaza, and we heard from his daughter after his body had been taken to the local hospital. We heard from his daughter really making a plea for peace, for this war to end, for more effort to be made to try to end this conflict, to bring a ceasefire and ultimately an end to this war. So far, that's not happened. We've seen ceasefires before, but certainly no end. And I guess we're going to have to wait and see what happens with the current offer on the table, hoping that Hamas and Israel can at least get a ceasefire and ultimately end this conflict.
Well, Tom, Israel and Hamas could be inching closer to a possible ceasefire. Where do things stand with truce talks? Israeli media is reporting that there's a push on to try to get some kind of preliminary agreement even before Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister, goes to Washington on Monday to meet with U.S. President Donald Trump. Now, we've seen some conflicting reports as well in the local media here about what Hamas thinks of this deal. Hamas has said that it's studying the proposal that's been put forward. We've seen some reports indicating that they see some positive in that. We've seen others that it's too much like the deal that was put on the table by Steve Witkoff, Donald Trump's Middle East envoy a few weeks back. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens. As I mentioned, Benjamin Netanyahu is going to be in Washington meeting with Donald Trump on Monday. Donald Trump has, of course, been active on social media saying, get to a deal, get the hostages back, those 50 living and dead Israeli hostages that Hamas still holds, and really saying in the last couple of days, when he announced that Israel had agreed to the fundamentals of a 60-day ceasefire, really putting the onus on Hamas, saying this is as good as it gets, warning the group that if they don't accept this deal, things are only going to get worse. All right, Tom Perry in Jerusalem. Thank you, Tom.